Hey everyone. Um, Tonight I'm going to read something and I'm going to talk a little bit about. I've been reading this book called Harbinger 2 by Jonathan Cahn, and it's pretty interesting. You know, he's got some insights that are uh, very interesting, and one of them is this. In the book, and I've heard this before from other writers and you know, thoughtful people that expound on the Bible and stuff over the years. But this one in particular, that this author Jonathan Cahn, who just did this event called The Return last Saturday, that there were several thousand people at. Anyway, uh, he brought up the point that the day after 9/11, when that happened, 2001, the day after the towers fell. Some political leaders had gone out and made some statements. I remember George W. Bush, president at that time, he got out there with a bullhorn and said some things that kind of encouraged people. He didn't use any Bible scripture or nothing. But the next day on 9/12, the leader of the Senate, Tom Daschle, went out and spoke in front of a small crowd of people, and he quoted this scripture, believing he was blessing the nation and trying to encourage, and that we're going to rebuild. And unfortunately, he quoted this scripture out of context and actually twisted the meaning of it. And here's the scripture I'm talking about. It's in Isaiah 9, and it's 9, 8, 9, and 10. The scripture that Tom Daschle, his name was Tom Daschle, the leader of the Senate, quoted was Isaiah 9:10, and it says, "The bricks have fallen down, but we will rebuild with dressed stone. The fig trees have been felled," or the sycamores in some versions. "The sycamore trees have fallen, but we will replace them with cedars." But what Tom Daschle and some others didn't realize when they were quoting that scripture the day after 9/11, they misquoted it and twisted the meaning, because the full meaning in context from verses 8, 9, and 10 says this: "The Lord has sent a message against Jacob. It will fall on Israel. All the people will know it. Ephraim and the inhabitants of Samaria, who say with pride and arrogance of heart, 'The bricks have fallen down, but we will rebuild with dressed stone. The fig trees or sycamore trees have fallen, but we will replace them with cedars.'" And so the real meaning of that verse is that the ancient Israelites were bragging about how they were going to rebuild their city after they had been attacked and by the Assyrians, I believe it was. And they were getting ready to, and they were going to rebuild their city, and they were bragging about how we're going to rebuild it bigger, stronger, you know, more fabulous, more beautiful, stronger. And that scripture that Tom Daschle, then Senate leader, a Democrat, he was quoting out of context, and he actually used it in a way that was twisted in its meaning. And a lot of people do this these days. They quote the Bible not really understanding what they're doing, and they quote it out of context, and it actually meant the exact opposite of what the Senate leader thought it meant. And a few days later, another politician, John Edwards, I believe his name was also quoted the same scripture, saying we're going to rebuild after 9/11. We're going to rebuild stronger. We're going to rebuild a new tower that's going to be bigger and better and more powerful, and they won't be able to knock it down. And these politicians were actually misquoting the Bible. And there's a lot of people that do this today. They misunderstand, and that's really a serious thing, to misquote scripture. And I just wanted to bring that up because I'm reading the book Harbinger too, and Jonathan Cahn brings that point up about how these politicians misquoted scripture and said we were going to rebuild stronger when actually what they were doing was it was the verse actually means a curse that God was saying, in your pride and your arrogance, this is what you're saying. They misunderstood it. And I see a lot of people doing that today. They don't really have an insight and an understanding of scripture, and they quote it out of context and twist the meaning, and that happens a lot. Anyway, that's all I was going to say tonight. And then I'm going to play a tune. I'm just going to improvise something.